Hi everyone, it's Michelle. Welcome back. So today I thought I would do for you, share some of the books I read recently. It's been a while since I made a video like this, and there's some books I kind of wanted to talk about, but as I've said before, I don't save my books. So it's hard for me to talk about a book. I feel like it's hard for me to talk about it once I've read it and then given it away and that kind of thing, because I don't have the book in front of me. So I'm going to talk about 4 that I very recently read. Mixed reviews, I will say, but I wanted to share them anyway because they might be interesting to some other people, while a couple of them may not have been like really interesting for me. So let's jump in and get started. I will say I read probably 2 books a week-ish because I've always got like a hard book going, like a real, like hold it in your hand book going. And I also always have an audio book going. And so for those, I thought I would talk briefly about this because for those of you who kind of think, oh, I wish I could read more. One of the things that I do now is I listen to audiobooks because I feel like I have a lot of time that I can listen, but I can't actually sit down and read. So every day when I'm doing my makeup, I'm listening to, when I'm having my coffee and doing my makeup, I'm listening to a book. So that gives me about a half an hour. And then on my way to work is about 25 minutes to 30 minutes. I'm listening then, and I'm listening on my way home. So almost every day I have an hour and a half that I can actually listen to audiobooks. So that gives me the ability to get a whole book in every week. So that's another way that I get a lot of really great reading in. And there are some books that I feel lend themselves to listening to them more so than reading them yourself. I find that to be very, very true. So I do a little bit of both. But I always have a book going from Audible, and I use Audible. There's many different services. I do use Audible. I just think it's the easiest one to use, but you know, use whatever one you want if you're interested in doing that. But Audible is, and I'm not an affiliate or whatever, but at Audible, I think it's $22.95 a month. You get 2 books. And then if you want more than that, there's always a deal for 3 books for, I think it's 3 books for $33, 3 credits for $33 or something like that. And so that's about $11 a book, which is not a bad deal. And sometimes they do buy one, get one free and that kind of thing. So I have an Audible account and I'm always listening to something. So I wanted to share that as well. And I may start talking about some of those books because some of them recently I've really enjoyed. So I might in these book reviews mix in a couple of those Audible books as well. But today I'm going to talk about 4 books that I read physically. So let's jump in and get started. In no particular order, I will talk about this one first. This is Into the Water by Paula Hawkins, who is the author of The Girl on the Train and anything else. No, she wrote The Girl on the Train, and now she wrote Into the Water. So if you read Girl on the Train and loved it, this is probably a great book for you to read as well. So I'll read the little inside and then tell you what I thought. A single mother turns up dead at the bottom of the river that runs through the town. Earlier in the summer, a vulnerable teenage girl met the same fate. They are not the first women lost to these dark waters, but their deaths disturbed the river and its history, dredging up secrets long submerged. Left behind is a lonely 15-year-old girl, parentless and friendless. She now finds herself in the care of her mother's sister, a fearful stranger who has been dragged back to the place she deliberately ran from, a place to which she vowed she'd never return. The same propulsive writing and acute understanding of human instincts that captivated millions of readers around the world in her debut thriller, The Girl on the Train. Hawkins delivers an urgent, twisting, deeply satisfying read that hinges on the deceptiveness of emotion and memory, as well as the devastating ways that the past can reach a long arm into the present. Beware a calm surface, you never know what lies beneath. So this is about, you know, a family or, you know, people that live in this town. The town is along the river, and, you know, people are ending up drowned in this river, and they have been for a very long time. So there's talk in the book about, you know, the history of women who were drowned in this river and that kind of thing. And so that all comes into the mix of the story here. I thought this was a really great, I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't want to give anything away. There's a lot of twists and turns in this story, sort of like there was on The Girl on the Train. I really liked this book. I loved how there was some history about the town in there and the things that had happened to women in the past who had drowned in this river and why they were drowned in the river. And it's about relationships. It's about family misunderstandings and, you know, not forgiving and what that can bring forth and that kind of thing. So I highly recommend this if you liked Girl on the Train or you like a mystery. Super fast read for me. Highly recommend it. I got mine from Book of the Month because I am still a member of Book of the Month Club. Again, not an affiliate, but if you like to read, Book of the Month Club is a great way to get a book for, I think it's $10 a month or something like that, or I don't know, maybe it's $14 a month or something like that. But they always have great sort of books to choose from every month, so highly recommend that. The next one I read it's called Cork Dork, and it is by Bianca Bosker, and this is actually a memoir of sorts, Bianca's memoir. So this is a wine-fueled adventure among the obsessive sommeliers, big bottle hunters, and rogue scientists who taught me to live for taste. So this book is not going to be for everybody. Let me just say that. So I'm a big wine drinker. I love to learn about wines and that kind of thing, and so I enjoyed this book. Let me see if there's a good, yeah, there's a little bit of a description here. So Bianca Bosker, who is the author of this book, didn't know much about wine until she discovered an alternate universe where taste reigns supreme. A world of elite sommeliers who dedicate their lives to the pursuit of flavor. Fascinated by their fervor and seemingly superhuman sensory powers, she set out to uncover what drove their obsession and whether she too could become a cork dork. With boundless curiosity, humor, and a healthy dose of skepticism, Bosker takes the reader inside underground tasting groups, exclusive New York City restaurants, California mass market wine factories, and even a neuroscientist's machine as she attempts to answer the most nagging question of all: what's the big deal with wine? So this really was an interesting book to read. There's a lot of science in this book, so that was a little bit hard to get through. But it's not a long book. It's like 300 pages. But this is a great book about, first of all, you learn a lot about wine. You learn a lot about tasting wine and what goes into it and how people in restaurants learn about the wine and how they manipulate you to buy the wine, which I found very interesting as a person who frequents restaurants and buys wine. But it was really interesting about the things that these wine experts go through to make sure they can taste the best. They give up eating all kinds of anything that's super spicy. They won't eat it because it you know, mutes their taste buds. They don't drink coffee. They stop consuming all kinds of things that will affect their ability to taste, so that they can always be able to taste everything in the wine and that kind of thing. So I thought that was really interesting. I loved the book. You know, this journalist goes through trying to pass the certified sommelier exam, and it's everything she does to, you know, get herself there, and all the places she goes and the things she does and the things she puts herself through to be able to pass that test. I thought it was really interesting. Again, it's not going to be for everybody if you're not sort of into the whole wine thing and being able to, and how they taste things and what different things mean and everybody's opinion and that kind of stuff. It won't be for you, but I actually really enjoyed reading that book. Probably my favorite book of the four was Dinner with Edward, and this is by Isabel Vincent. This is a short book. Just only a few hundred pages, like 220 pages. Isabel Vincent, she was an investigative reporter for the New York Post. She's been a foreign correspondent. She's written for the New Yorker, New York Times, all kinds of stuff, Time, that kind of thing. So this is called Dinner with Edward, A Story of an Unexpected Friendship. So I'm going to read you a little blurb and then tell you what I thought. When Isabel meets Edward, both are at a crossroads. He wants to follow his late wife to the grave, and she is ready to give up on love. Thinking she is merely helping Edward's daughter, who lives far away and has asked her to check in on her dad, Isabel has no idea that the man in the kitchen baking the roast chicken and light as air apricot souffle will end up changing her life. As Edward and Isabel meet weekly for glorious dinners that Edward prepares, he shares so much more than his recipes for apple galette and the perfect martini, or even his tips for deboning poultry. Edward is teaching Isabel the luxury of slowing down and taking the time to think through everything she does, to deconstruct her own life, cutting it back to the bone and examining the guts, no matter how messy that proves to be. Dinner with Edward is a book about love and nourishment, and how dinner with a friend can, in the words of MFK Fisher, sustain us against the hungers of the world. So, again, I think this is a memoir. Isabel Vincent's friend asks her, could she go check on her dad on a regular basis because she's too far away to check on him, and he's, I think he's in his 80s or something anyway, and his wife has passed away, so he's on his own. So Isabel agrees to go have dinner with him, you know, kind of weekly, to just check on him and make sure, you know, he's okay. And, you know, he makes these beautiful, elaborate dinners for them, and drinks, and you know, it's a very formal affair, and he kind of teaches her how to enjoy that part of life, and what, you know, the real meaning of life is, and there's a lot of discussions around that kind of thing. And this book is about the development of their relationship and how it changes her and how it changes him and all that jazz. And I thought it was just a really beautiful story to read. So I highly, highly recommend this book if you like those kind of stories. It was really, really great. There's a lot of New York in there if you like to read about New York. There's a lot of stuff about food in there, like the chapters. You know, the chapters are, you know, based on their meals. So chapter 4 is herb roasted chicken in a paper bag, roasted vegetables, fennel remoulade over lettuce, popover flambe, martinis, and pinot blanc. You know, so it starts out with a description of what he's prepared or preparing, and then it talks about their meal and kind of what happens during the meal and that kind of thing. And I do believe it's a little bit of a love story, although the two of them, it's not a love story between the two of them. It is a beautiful friendship between the two of them. Highly recommend that one. And the last, well, this isn't the order I read them in, but the last book I want to talk about was How to Make a French Family, a memoir of love, food, and faux pas. So it looks like this. It is by Samantha Varant. Yeah, Samantha Varant. And this is about an American woman who marries a French man. Here, I'll read it. Take one French widower, his 2 young children, and drop a former city girl from Chicago into a small town in southern France. Shake vigorously, and voila, a blended Franco-American family whose lives will all drastically change. So there's a lot more description here, but I really don't need to read that. Woman from Chicago marries a Frenchman, moves to his small French town. He's a French widow. He has young children. She's now going to be stepmom. And it's about all of the things that happen to them as the family comes together and begins living together and that kind of thing. And I thought it was a cute read. I don't know if I thought it was anything super special. There's some funny, poignant moments, things you would expect to happen. I think it was relatively predictable, but cute. If you like reading about, you know, families who come together and the struggles they have, and now you throw in, you know, she went to a foreign country where she doesn't speak the language that good. It's cute, but yeah, it's just cute. There's some really funny things that happen, but it's very predictable. But if you like that kind of thing, I think it would be a good book for you to read. So those are the 4 I wanted to talk about today. Hopefully you guys found that helpful. I will try to do these on a regular basis, maybe once every 2 weeks or so I have a few books to read. Let me know what you think about me sharing my audiobooks as well. You know, I won't have the physical book here to show you, but I enjoy the experience of an audio book. I'm really enjoying it, so let me know if you want me to share those as well. that's it for the books for today. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. If you've read anything recently that you love, or you've read any of these, share in the comments what you're thinking about that. Please, please, no spoilers. I try never to have spoilers on here, and don't put spoilers in the comments because a lot of people read through the comments to see other people's book recommendations and that kind of thing. So that's it for today. I hope everybody's having a fantastic day, and I will talk to you all again soon.